The chair of the section, colleague presenters, ladies and gentlemen, I am delighted to present on the waters and coasts of Africa. This presentation, I hope, will demonstrate the value addition of using Earth observations for informing and helping policymakers across Africa on the need to work hard in transforming communities from poor communities into sustainable communities. So the case studies will span from national, regional, and international efforts. I am Amos Kabo-bah from Ghana, and I'm working with the University of Energy and Natural Resources. I am a senior lecturer of the Department of Civil and Environmental Engineering and has been involved in GEO activities since 2010. Currently, I am a member of the program board and co-chair for the GEO LDN initiative. Before I proceed with my presentation, I want to use this chance to acknowledge the enormous contributions from, first of all, the AfriGeo Secretariat, that is currently the Regional Center for Mapping of Resources for Development, the South African National Space Agency, SANSA, and the CSIR also of South Africa, the GMES for Africa, the GEO Blue Planet, the several national agencies and members of AfriGeo, and lastly, the Digital Earth Africa. That is one of the high spotlights for the African continent in the demonstration of the use of Earth observations now and in the near future. So to begin with, as you can see in this slide, it has become very, very important for us to realize the importance of the demonstration of Earth observations and satellite images for supporting daily lives. Like in the case of this slide, we are talking about flooding. And flooding cuts across the whole of Africa. Several countries experience flooding on annual scales. And therefore, it is important that we try to think about case studies that will demonstrate this. In the case of Kenya, you can see that some villages are flooded here. And of course, in most communities across Africa, most of these people depend on farming as the way of livelihood. And they usually spend quite a lot of income trying to invest into their farms. So if the farms get flooded, then of course the issues of food insecurity comes in. So this is a very important case, and from what we've done is trying to use cheap satellite data, and which is a good product, as it also links up with in-situ data measurements. It also proves the point that we, in a way, if we want to understand flooding, that we have to improve our in-situ measurements in order to better calibrate and improve our satellite measurements, so that in the end we have reliable data that we can better use for our flooding purposes. So as in the case of this map, you can see some of the areas that are prone to this particular flooding, as has been demonstrated. This is zero in using the high resolution imagery supported by the Google engine, and this is really good and a good example, and I hope that other African countries could learn from Kenya and do similar things for other parts of Africa. Now, this is another case from South Africa, the importance of coastal information management system. It is very important we start to consider our coastal management, as a lot happens in our oceans across Africa, in terms of transport of goods and services, and in terms of fishing, in terms of even maintaining the ocean ecosystems. That is very important, and this example is from South Africa, demonstrating the need to really closely monitor, for example, day and night, about issues about ships, oil spills, and all the issues of governance when it comes to the oceans and coast of South Africa. As can be seen, they have an online tool that is continuously monitoring the the number of ships that are moving on their oceans, and as a result, they are able to really reliably tell which ships are legal and which ships are illegal. And I think this is very, very important, trying to monitor illegality and trying to control and bring in some governance that will help in better revenue collection. So as is demonstrated here, it means that with Earth observations, we can better understand our oceans and we can better know what to do to ensure that incomes or revenues are not lost as a result of some illegality. This example is further shown from a national example that CSIR submitted a grant to the GMES for Africa, and the grant was awarded. So several countries now coming together in the southern region to try to see how they could expand the good example from South Africa to the other countries. And the aim for this was to first of all ensure that our communities, our grassroots, get benefit for the information we get. And I think this is what GEO stands for, trying to ensure that whatever we do at the top level, it also benefits the community. And this is demonstrated by this example. So small-scale fishing communities are able to access via mobile application activities that are happening in their oceans, and as a result, they are able to know what really to do. It also means that community leaders also in the aquaculture and what have you can use this application to better improve what they need to do. And of course, it also helps district officers or institutions that are also working in such communities to also through this application are able to understand what to do. So this is really also proving the vital information for Earth observations in this manner. Now, again, the industries are important. The commercial sector is key because they have to take this up and further develop it, and they're also key in the overall chain. And again, this collaboration helped in providing regional optimization and forecasts and products that are good for maritime operations. So it, in a way, in broad sense, it helps the industries to improve their income or to increase their revenue at the end of the day. Now, in a nutshell, it also helps governments in the various countries to better understand the ocean governance and how they can further use this ocean governance, transparency in ocean governance, in trying to ensure that they can alleviate poverty in the various countries. So as we can see in this example, this is starting from South Africa, taking the initiative, expanding it further to the Southern African countries. And it proves that Earth observation is really crucial, helping the communities, helping the industries, and at the end of the day, helping the government. And I think this is really a very good example that could be taken up by the rest of the continent or other developing countries that may not have this potential already. Now, Digital Earth Africa. Digital Earth Africa has come and is one of the big future for Africa, building of data cubes. And this is an initial demonstration of how Digital Earth Africa is crucial for the continent. It started with 5 countries with the African Regional Data Cube, and now with the Digital Earth Africa, the efforts will be further scaled up. So this is a demonstration of the water observation from space algorithm which was implemented based on the Landsat and also now Sentinel over the large data archive. And I want to say that this work is very important as this is an example which is shown here, but I quite remember that we used the same algorithm for Ghana, and it was able to demonstrate areas of water pollution and all other stuff. I mean, because once you have a water body, depending on how the pixel counts are done, then you are able to tell what is really happening. And this was very vital for our government in trying to find to look at the impacts of illegal mining on pollution of our water bodies. So I think Digital Earth Africa will further help to develop more case studies that will inform our African governments to see where to really invest their money ensuring that at the end of the day, communities get what they want at the end of the day. So this is just a case of Tanzania, and as I mentioned before, there was also a case of Ghana, which was clearly demonstrated by the Digital Earth Africa. This is another by the GEO Blue Planet, an initiative that occurs across several countries. This is just a case of giving an example of how illegal, unregulated kind of fishing can cause huge losses, huge revenue. And like in the West African region alone, the region loses almost 7.15 billion per year. And of course, what is also lost is that employment, people lose their jobs. And this is this is really not good. So the preliminary results, which is just shown in this graph, is saying that the sea level surface temperature changes in one way or the other is affecting the waters of Ghana. And as this is affecting, of course, it's also affecting the phytoplankton, zooplankton, and all this in one way or the other affect your fish stocks. So it is important that we use the Earth observation to further understand this, so that we can be able to know what to do at what time. And these are maps showing examples of tracking of fishing vessels, and trying to show which ones are legal, which ones are illegal, and also helps with relevant stakeholders to understand what they need to do at the end of the day. Now, the importance of ocean monitoring is also key. Like fishermen, especially in the West Africa, they need usually to locate fish, to navigate, to focus. Weather has always been a challenge, and through the GMES for Africa, I mean, in Ghana, it was demonstrated that it was possible to provide early warning systems for the fishermen, and with a simple tool like a phone, then the fishermen are able to tell whether they send a text message, and from the text message, they're able to tell whether it's calm, the weather is going to become rough or dangerous, and as a result, they can better plan their fishing activities. I'm reliably informed that this Bangladesh is already interested in making use of this SMS alert protocol, and the University of Ghana is closely working with some relevant organizations in Bangladesh to ensure that this technology transfer is achieved. And I think this is what GEO is all about. And a good example is demonstrated somewhere, then the learning outcomes from that are transferable to other countries, which I think that is really, really positive and should be encouraged. So I want to say the presentation on the waters and coast of Africa clearly demonstrate that the good example from national can be transferred to sub-regional, and there is still the potential to go continent-wide. And this is a demonstration that we need to pay more attention to the importance of Earth observations, as especially in Africa, that governments want to see the maps. They believe the maps because from the maps they can have some transparency in understanding what is on the ground in order to know how to allocate resources equitably. So on behalf of all the people who have already acknowledged, who have contributed to this presentation, and my co-chair, Kamal Labaski, I wish to thank all of you for your attention. Thank you.